ourselves of, but I think she just did it now. So thank you for the reminder, Ezio.
So I prepared something that I believe it will be useful for all of us. It's just, why I cannot, okay. It's a way that, well, to me, I find it quite useful. It gives me an idea on what behavior I should expect when with the different types of materials. Just a clarification, material is the terminology used in ECC, while product ID is the terminology used for in SRM, in shopping carts and PO, and also solicitation documents. But actually it refers to the different goods that can be managed. Okay, so I am sharing this because personally I find it quite useful. For example, what we see here is that any laser pointer, okay, any product ID that begins with the number 21 will be a fixed asset, and then we expect them to be serialized always. And then about equipment, we have two types of, the equipment begins always with a 15 series number, and it's always serialized, while there is another type of material that begins with 15 series as well, but they are supplies not serialized. So not all the 15 series material will be serialized. There are two types of 15 series, the ones that are serialized and others that are not serialized. And then we see, I'm going only to spend 1 minute on this or two. There's, for you to know, there is also another type of materials. For example, if you see a material beginning with 12 series, then you immediately know that it's a spare part. Spare parts are not managed by quality. They are not managed in batches, but some of them are serialized, although most of them are not serialized. And the same onwards. There's another category that is a finished product, beginning with 14 series. So they can be they can go with a quality check, and they are not serialized and batch managed. And then about the medical supplies, for example, we have some that are quality checked, some that are managed in batches, for example, anything that is pharmaceutical, some are serialized, the devices for medical supplies. Then we have rations, for example, they begin with the 17 series numbers. They are not quality managed. Some of them are managed in batches, for example, the combat rations, but others are not managed in batches. For example, the water that goes together, that goes to like with the food, and then they are not serialized. Then we have those materials that begin with 11, they are raw materials, and then anything technically can be yes or not, batch managed, quality managed, and serialized. It's a question of how the product ID is defined in the system. So, for example, this is the general rule, but then we have many exceptions. For example, we have medical supplies that are batch managing, they are quality checked, for example, the vaccines. Then we have supplies that are not serialized but are managed in batches, for example, the ammunition. And then we have 4 finished products that are serialized. And then in general, raw materials are not serialized, but we have prefabs that are serialized, and so on. And then if you, while you are transacting, for example, doing STRs, RTOs during mission liquidation, you may find some materials that begin with symbols, and you may wonder what these symbols mean. So there are different symbols, and all of them means that they are not to be used in shopping carts and POs, but as they are already in the mission, they can be used until the end of their life cycle. And usually is because these product IDs are not specific enough to be qualified as a correct product ID. So they were purchased with this product ID, and until they are disposed or until the end of the life cycle, they will be used, but they are not suitable for new shopping carts and POs. Okay, this is all I wanted to say. And now the session of today is about equipment enrichment, assignment, and transfer. Just a brief overview. So the equipment records, remember that equipment are serialized materials. So the equipment records must be accurately maintained. The need to reflect changes in the equipment master may arise from a number of business processes through its life cycle. So we enrich equipment in order to reflect what are the processes that the material goes throughout the life cycle. For example, when we receive the equipment into inventory, we can update the warranty data, we can attach specifications, and we can update the user status. Then, through another process that the equipment can go through, it's when we issue the equipment from the inventory. So we may need to reflect that the equipment has been installed into a functional location. We may want to reflect the authorization group of the equipment, the user assignment, the responsible cost center, and the user status. Then, for example, as a result of physical verification, we may have equipment that has been found located in a department. So we may want to update the equipment information accordingly. And then if the equipment is subject to transfer or handover from one staff member to another staff member, we may want to track this process, and we will do it in the equipment master. Also, when we are disposing of a piece of equipment, for example, as a result of a write-off, we want to mark that the equipment has been refired. As well, if we are maintaining a piece of equipment, we may want to update the equipment records by attaching technical specs or warranty info, or also we may want to add the acquisition year and month. So basically, when the equipment management is to add extra information that is important to the equipment, and the same equipment can be subject to different updates throughout its lifetime. So the first time that the equipment is enriched is actually after the goods receipt. Here is where the requisitioner creates the shopping cart by pulling the product ID of the material master. Then this material will be transformed in a PO, and then later on it will be subject to goods receipt. When it is received by R&I, then Umoja will assign serial numbers. And it will create like another set of extra information in Umoja where we can update all the statuses that the equipment is going to go through its lifetime. Then the requisitioner will get an information in an email stating that the equipment has been received into Umoja, and there are some fields that are already pre-populated. For example, the cost center or WBS element, the project that the equipment is linked to, the currency key, the material group of the equipment, the plant, the equipment number, which is the serial number, etc. All these pieces of information are actually pulled from the PO, the shopping cart, and the material master. Okay. Then either if the requisitioner is also having the role of SD11, master data maintainer local, or anyone, any property custodian that is assigned the role of SD11 by using the G code IE02, can update further information to the already repopulated equipment information. If it's one record, they can add some information when, for example, they issue it from the inventory, like authorization group, the functional location, the staff member that has been assigned this piece of equipment, etc. They can make these updates one by one of the equipment. They can also add other optional information like manufacturer, the model number, the part number, the weight, the size, etc. They can add also other optional information as if it applies to the piece of equipment. And lastly, for your information, these updates can be done also in a mass change function by using another G code that is IE05. So the equipment can be updated one by one with mandatory information and also optional information. And the equipment, if you have many lines of equipment to be updated at the same time, you can use another G code, you can use an Excel template that you will upload into the system. And you can also upload extra information with regards to the equipment information. Brian, I'm not checking now the chat, so if there is any comment or anyone wants to intervene at any point, please unmute yourself or write in the chat.
Yes, Elena, perfect. Nothing in the chat as of now.
Okay, so there are, for you to know, there are two methods for updating equipment master. We will see today how to update one record at a time by using the T code IE02, and then we can update the equipment master in a mass change manner by using another T code IE05, where we will be updating an Excel file. The equipment must change procedure is applied when there is a need to facilitate the maintenance of equipment master data needed as a result of changes caused, for instance, when we are receiving multiple items in RNI, when we are installing or dismantling at a functional location, for example, in liquidation or downsizing processes, and also we can do enrichment or removal of equipment as a result of sale, write-off, or disposal. The roles are the requisitioner, the RNI, and the local master data maintainer. The receiving user will receive the goods, and as we saw, after receiving the goods, then the equipment is serialized and some information are pulled from the shopping cart and the PO and the material master into the equipment master. After the goods receipt is done in Umoja, Umoja will alert the requisitioner, informing that the equipment record has been created and subject to Enrich. At this point is where either the requisitioner, who is holding as well the role of SD11, or someone else, the property custodian holding this role, can check what is the information that has been pre-populated after goods receipt, and if needed, can update the information in order to reflect the status of the equipment. So basically, this person receives offline communication on enrichment activity, then checks all pre-populated data from the equipment, the data that has been pulled at this stage, and also is responsible for maintaining and modifying equipment record within the assigned authorization group. So any type of equipment falls under one of three categories of equipment in Umoja. So Umoja separates or differentiates all equipment into three categories. The first category is generators, and if the product ID is with regards to a generator, then the equipment record will show 10 tabs with information. If Umoja identifies that the product ID linked to the serial number belongs to a vehicle, Umoja will display 11 tabs in the equipment record. And if Umoja identifies that the equipment is not a generator or is not a vehicle, then it will show 9 tabs for enrichment. So we have three types of equipment records. As a summary, the equipment master record creation is done automatically after the goods received with pre-populated information. Then we have types of enrichment fields. We have some that are pre-populated, others that are optional, and others that are mandatory to be enriched. The main role involved in the equipment enrichment is the local master data maintainer. The categories of the equipment, meaning the number of tabs that we will see in the equipment master, depends if the product ID is a vehicle, if it's a generator, or if it's any other type of material. And then the equipment system status is automatically updated, and it's esto when after goods received, available, or installed when it's issued from the inventory. And then we have the equipment user status that is to be updated manually, and it has different statuses: idle, assigned, maintained, under maintenance, in transit, or not found. This is all I wanted to show you as introduction before moving to the demo. Let me see. We have. Okay, Brian, there are no questions.
No, nothing, Elena. Don't worry, I'll be checking it. I'm looking at it
Elena.
the whole time. Yes, Nico.
Okay, maybe somebody can help on this. Maybe Piero, I don't know, because it's a long time I'm using. But there was a problem in production with the must change, because must probably the template was changed, and there was a huge problem to use the must change, and but actually I don't know if it's been fixed, because honestly I'm not using since long time, but the template was for sure changed, because we cannot perform the must change. I faced this in Minojust, so it was just to point it out this.
Nico, good morning all, this is Pietro. If may I?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. I mean, just to update you that, I mean, the file is again, I mean, in work condition. It's in operational mode, because, I mean, 2 days ago I just finalized a must change, and I used that file. So, Nico, you can go ahead and use it, because it works. Okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Piero.
You're welcome.
The template, it was changed as of 15th of April, and also all the job aids with regards to the equipment management. So maybe this is related to your comment, Nico, that it was not properly working. And I take this opportunity to let you know that, yes, all the job aids have been changed as of this month and updated. And they are found here under the property service delivery and property management section. We are going to do a demo on equipment enrichment. We will do enrichment of a vehicle, a generator, and also computers. What we're going to do is to see what is the pre-populated data, and then we're going to enrich it with optional and mandatory information. Let me show you the structure of the exercises. It is the same structure as yesterday. So basically, you will receive the body of the exercises where it is explained what we are going to do. Also, you can see the related job aids that can be useful with extra information, and then you are going to see, first of all, how to log in the appropriate training environment, and then you will see further down what are the steps with screenshots. Okay. Then you will receive as well a cover page with the credentials and the information that you need to input in the case of enriching with optional information. So what we are going to do is basically, let me open my cover page, and I'm going to use it in order to transact in Umoja. Okay. So this is the exercise. We're going to learn how to process enriching equipment enriching an equipment after the goods received. This task is done by the local master data maintainer. And then, as we said, that there are 11 fields that will be automatically pre-populated once the goods receipt has been posted. These are the 11 fields, for example, the material or the product ID, main and sub asset ID, acquisition value. So this is pulled as well from the purchase order, the business area, the currency key, the serial number that is created after the goods receipt, posting date, vendor, cost center, plant, and material group of the equipment from the material master. Then there are some fields that are mandatory to be enriched, and this is because you want to reflect who owns the material and who is able to make all the changes in the equipment. So you will update it with the authorization group, and there are other fields that need to be populated, like functional location, cost center, and user status. And you will also enrich the material with the different information, such as manufacturer and model, weight, size, part number, warranty data, and attachments. We are not going to do the attachments here, but you have the steps on how to attach the document. These are the credentials. You are going to receive the same type of cover page for you to do the exercises. And these exercises, we're going to use the environment 520. What I'm going to do is these are the steps. So what we're going to do is first log in as master data maintainer, and we're going to verify the pre-populated data for the vehicle. Then we will enrich the authorization group, and then we will add the non-mandatory fields. Then we will move to the generators. So we will do the same. We will verify what is the data that has been pre-populated in the case of a generator, and then we will add the authorization group, and we'll add some specific information to generators. And as other equipment, we will use a computer, and we will do the same steps. I'm going to copy the not opening. Okay. Oh. This is the training environment for ECC, SAP GUI. And what we do is to log in, see, Umoja Training ECC. And then we change into 520. I log in as MDM local, and the password is Umoja133. And following the exercises, I will log into, let's see, I will type the decode IE03, and it's asking me to insert the serial number of the equipment. So I need to, sorry guys, but I'm only having one screen, so I need to switch from screen to screen. Let me open the demo. All the time. Vehicle, so I'm going to use this serial number. Remember, you don't need to select the product ID. What you need to do is to enrich, to take the serial number, as we are going to enrich each piece of equipment, right? Not the material. So this is the equipment, and then I move into here, and this is the information that the system is pre-populated as a result of the goods received. Is taking the information from the material master as well as from the purchase order. The first thing that we are going to see is to verify what is the information under the general tab. So we will see that the equipment whose number is 16193-591. It's a bus, medical bus, diesel. The status is ESTO and equipment idle. This is the automatic status that is after the goods received, meaning that the bus is in the warehouse and is idle. It has been assigned to anyone, is not under maintenance, is not in transit, and is not marked as not found. Then this is the material group of the equipment from the extracted from the material master. This is the acquisition value of the material. This is the key, and this is the acquisition date, the posting date. Okay. Then other pieces of information that is pre-populated, we can find it in the organization. This will be the company code, as you know, is always 1000 for all the activities that we do in the UN. Then we have the business area. Here is the asset number and sub-asset and the responsible cost center. Then what else? What information can we find? If we move to, for example, this tab, share data, what we can see is, you see, the product ID is a fixed asset, and also the serial number of the, or the equipment number of the product ID. We will see also other stock information, such as plant and storage location. And if we see, if we move to the partner assignment, we can see who is the business partner, number of the vendor. So this is basically the pre-populated information, and what we want to do now is to enrich it with some mandatory information. Maybe the authorization group, you are going to use it more when you issue it from inventory. but we are putting this step in order for you to remember that the authorization group is important, because it's going to reflect who is going to be able to make additions to the equipment throughout its lifetime. So it's important to mark the authorization group. The authorization group is found in the General tab. And for example, if we click on the matchbox, we're going to, one sec, to mark it as, it was, let me find it, transport services. So any SD11 local master data maintainer mapped to transport services will be able to make additions to the equipment and not other users. Okay, and basically we are going to do this. We are going to not save still, because we want to insert other optional information regarding to the vehicle. Remember that the system, when it identifies that the product ID is a vehicle, it's going to provide other extra tabs that other product ID doesn't show. For example, we're going to add who is the vehicle manufacturer, the weight, the model, and the license plate. So in the General tab, we're going to add this part of information. If you see my mouse, manufacturer. In order to add the manufacturer, we need to go to the cover page and check is Hyundai. So basically, this is what I'm doing. Then I'm going to add what the exercise is providing, the weight, 650 kilos. One sec. No, it's here. And the model number. So I put it here. There is another piece of information, which is the license plate. So we are going to insert the license plate, and it was in this extra tab that it only appears for the vehicle product ID. This is the license plate. No, is this? If the car also has a second plate number, this piece of information can be inserted in this field. Once we have enriched this extra information specific to the vehicles, then we can click on save, and the equipment will be updated. Okay. Is there any comment that anyone wants to?
Elena, I want to
Yes.
ask you something. There is any way that in Umoja you can, or maybe there isn't, I have not seen it, the engine number, because sometimes for shipments we need as well the engine number of the vehicle.
The engine number, interesting, let me see.
Elena, going to vehicle technology, yes.
Engine power, engine capacity, engine serial number, for example.
Correct.
Okay, so here we could add the engine number. Okay, this is it. We're going to do exactly the same with a generator. So we see what are the fields to be enriched when the product ID is a generator. So I'm going to copy the generator serial number and do the same actions. So this is the serial number. The description is this generator. The status is in the warehouse and equipment idle because we just received it to the inventory and it hasn't been out. I don't know if I said before, but mainly we update equipment, especially when rich equipment, when either we do goods receipt into the inventory or when we do goods issue to a functional location or to a staff member. So following with the generator, we will check what is the pre-populated data. So this is the same as before. This is the material group that belongs to the where the product that has the product ID within. Then we have default weight, and this is the acquisition value, the currency key, and the posting dates. If we go to the organization, we see other information with regards to the account assignment of the generator. This is pulled from the purchase order and the planning plant, sorry. Then we insert data. We can see the product ID. This is again another fixed asset as it begins with 21. This is the serial number that has been assigned after the goods receipt. And then this is the stock information. It's in the plant US00 and it belongs to the storage location 3101. In partner assignment, we will see who is the vendor of the generator. What we are going to do is to include the authorization group. So we will limit that the changes on this piece of generator, it's only limited to, let's say, the owner of the generator and not others. So let me see the generator. Let's put F00, facilities management. So no one in other sections will be able to edit the equipment. And then we're going to do is to see what are the specificities that the equipment has for generators. So we are going to see that here, as the product ID is a generator, we see a tab called Generator Technology. And what we're going to see is we're going to add the capacity. In order to do that, we go to the cover page, we copy, and then we paste it. Copy, and then paste it, and then the exercise will tell you to add more info, which is in the cover page. And further details. For some reason I cannot paste anymore. Okay. And also I think this is all that was required. Once it is done, we save. And the goods will be
Elena,
updated.
sorry, if
Yes.
I can just jump in for 1 second. I don't know if it's, since you already processed this transaction for the equipment, can you do just a favor, just because every time there's a sound on ECC, right, when you click and it gives you a sound feedback, No, you actually, there's a way to get rid of it without having to bring the volume down here. If you want, now that you've performed this transaction, if you don't mind signing out, or actually, you know, that little TV screen, but I think you're going to have to sign out for it to process eventually. In the login page, if you log in again, no, right there, just double click on the T1E.
Ah.
And before you log in that TV screen there at the top right, the last icon in the navigational menu there, yeah, options. And then when it says there, interaction design, sound settings at the bottom, and just, yeah, take that out, apply, and click on OK. All right, okay, like that we can avoid that sound, because every time I hear it, I have a little bit of a brain seizure. Okay, and I know it's something that may be bothering other people too, so we just get it out of the way.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me continue. So remember, this is the T code, and lastly, what we're going to do is to repeat the same for any other type of material. So it's not a complicated process. Here we will see we have pre-populated data. In this case, it's a tablet. And then we will see the general data we have seen in organization, location as well. There is no information, organization. And then, yeah, the same. What we will do is to click on edit, insert the authorization group. In this case, something related to ICT. So let me find out is here it is. And then we want to include as well the manufacturer, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it's Samsung. And then we can add other model number, part number, etc. I think it's quite straightforward, the exercise. This is it, and this is, you will receive a notification stating that the equipment has been changed. Basically, this is what is the exercise about and what is the enrichment about. It's just about reviewing the pre-populated information and adding other extra information that is required. It can be edited as many times as it is required throughout the life of the piece of equipment. I finished the demo. If it's okay with you, I also prepared a short questions in forms.
Sorry, Elena, I have a doubt on this last one on the computer.
Yes.
We have seen the product ID. We have seen of this computer. Should we see as well the serialization of this, and in addition the serial number of the item? So technically it has three, I call them identification number that relates to the same material.
Yes, the equipment number actually is the serial number. So we manage the goods one by one, and one by one is by using the serial number. The terminology in Umoja is a little bit misleading. So when we, here in ECC, when we speak about equipment number, is actually the serial number. I don't know if this clarifies, which is different to the product ID or the material number.
Okay, yes, thanks.
So what we will do is to extract the serial number and to edit the product by using the serial number as a reference. So the aim is that we track each of the products by its serial number, and we're going to be updating if the material is in the warehouse, or it has been issued, or if it has been assigned to a person, etc., or a functional location. And the way to do it is by managing the serial number, which in this case is called, the nomenclature is equipment.
And you don't fill the part down on the bottom where it says manufacturer data, where is the manufacturer serial number. You don't put the same number there, or you put it as well?
If you have the info and you want to add it, of course, yes, you can do it. You can complete as much information as it's available and is useful for you.
If I may jump in,
sure.
It's Nicola. Manufacturer part number or manufacturer serial numbers, model, make, manufacturer, construction year and month, are usually fields that are populated under the enrichment capability at the receiving phase. So they will be there for the entire life cycle of the equipment, usually at the RNI and receiving phase.
Ah, good. And does everybody do the same? So it should come by default.
Not by default. What I observe, what I appreciate is that during the RNI, the engine number or whatever other very specific detail of any equipment is populated at that stage.
Okay, it's populated manually.
Manually, yes. There's no clear, let's say, system automatism. I mean, the engine number is only seen and appreciated at the moment of inspection of the equipment upon arrival in the system. In the system, it could be, I don't know, a bill of lading from the vendor or from the freight forwarder, but is not linked to the system. It is something, especially the serial numbers or engine numbers, that are populated, appreciated, observed, and the fields populated at RNI stage. From what I can observe.
Nicola, can I ask you a question? On the RNI side, are all those mandatory fields filled in by RNI? And are you obliged to fill them in? Otherwise, you can't continue on with the process.
There are some fields that are mandatory, some others are not. Consider that I guess we are talking about a record, right? An equipment record in this moment. So the mandatory fields from the inventory point of view, I guess they are the storage location, the status, plant, you know, from the inventory point of view. Other fields that go in deep in the identification of the equipment are found literally when, just as an example, when the vehicle comes in and the inspection is performed. If it's mandatory, I can't say. It is for sure a way to let's say to identify in a better way the equipment.
Okay,
but
and
if we are talking about a record, an inventory record, an equipment record, I don't think the engine number is mandatory. It's useful indeed.
Okay, and the reason I asked that question, sorry to interrupt you, is because Gianluca asked a question in the chat. Are the mandatory fields going to be flagged, highlighted by the system so the user can spot them? From what we've seen, I'm not too sure, but maybe you'll know better than me.
I can let's say I can appreciate Brian's response. that
no,
the mandatory fields.
The mandatory fields, the system will not provide any error.
Exactly. So if let's look at the equipment record meaning, right? Is something that identifies the ownership and the engine number or the manufacturer chassis number is not mandatory per se. It is indeed very useful again, but it's not mandatory from the inventory point of view. When a mandatory field is missing, when a mandatory field is missing, the system returns an error message. From my limited experience, the mandatory fields are those related to plant, planning plant, manufacturing plant, maintenance plant, and few others from this perspective.
Okay, and sorry, just from our experience in managers, and I have an idea why Gianluca Marazzo asked that question about the manufacturer serial number. We know from our experience in managers and in other missions that we're closing, that barcodes are missing off assets, and the only way we could identify them is through the serial number to find them in the system.
Serial barcode is in Umoja, correct me if I'm wrong, barcode is not one of those fields that are mandatory to identify the equipment. The equipment number is. So it could be that during the migration or during, yes, literally the migration of data, those fields were not migrated properly or were not migrated at all. So they didn't appear in the equipment record in Umoja.
Exactly.
So the barcode is not a mandatory field by convention.
The conversation later on.
Please, Nico.
Okay, just to answer to Joe. Yes, Nicola is correct. There was a problem during the migration of data from Galileo to Umoja. Now, the old barcode that UN used to provide in terms of label, LBB-A-Z, whatever it is, was filled into the technical identification number field in order to provide a sort of double information about the item, okay? But of course, there will be a time in which those old barcodes will be consumed, and the equipment number, it will be the main reference of the items, the one that at RNA level are physically printed. So that equipment number is the new barcode, okay? And all this info are retrieved from the material document. When you create the material document, as yesterday we did, and you create the serialization, that will be the equipment number and the main number of the item. And it's to confirm what Nicola says, during the inspection of the RNA stuff, all this info as a manufacturer serial number are filled by them. And automatically now into the technical identification number, it replies the equipment number with some stars before, I don't remember well. So if necessary and the old barcode are still in use, the reference can be put into that field. If not, the equipment is main number.
Okay, Nico. Yeah. Nico, my mistake was using the word barcode. Of course, the equipment number is, if you want to call it the new barcode. Well, I think what Gianluca was referring to, that it does, that identification is missing from an asset. The only way to identify the asset in the system is through the manufacturer serial number, and this is the issues that we had in Minijust. Okay, we were looking in Minijust. Sorry, just for a second. In Minijust, we were lucky because a lot of the equipment had been migrated from Galileo into Umoja, and those in the identification field was the barcode. No, it was easier. I'm talking about in the future, where we're not attaching barcodes like we did before, right? And you don't have the identification number because it's fallen off or it's come off. And the easy way to identify those assets and equipment was through the manufacturer's serial number.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely agree. It's non-mandatory, but it's probably the most useful info with the equipment number to fill and is highly recommended to do this action at RNI level, because are the very first colleagues that took this info. That's what we do in Brindisi. So it's extremely recommended to do the same in the field. And but I think they used to do as well. And what else, Joe? I agree with you. It's, probably there was a problem in Minijust at the migration time, or probably they were not being enriched properly at the receiving level. I don't know, but equipment and manufacturer serial number from our points of view are very, very extremely useful. I'll give you a sample. For example, the new, this is practical sample, okay? The containers, for example. The label that we produce is just a simple label, not metal as we used to do before. And under the rain, under the sun, it doesn't work properly. So if you don't have the items enriched with the manufacturer serial number, you will never be able to recognize the container. From a system point of view, the equipment number identifies the container. But physically, if you don't have any label on it, the only way to recognize is the manufacturer serial number. So that's why it's extremely important to fill that field.
Okay, so therefore then we should try and get that field to be a mandatory field to be filled in, if it's not already mandatory.
And on top, Joe, and on top...
Actually, it's not mandatory.
No, apart of to be mandatory, it should not be changed by physical check and all these things with the other nodes, because this is the problem. Joe catched my point in the sense, the example was this: we had a container, we were trying to find in Umoja, trying to find it with the serial number, but where the tab on serial number was written like PVD, like physical check done, physical not found. So was removed the serial number, and this is the issue that we faced. So we were not available to find this correct equipment number because they were changing the serial number with other digits in the system.
Yeah, Gianluca, if may I, but I mean, we are talking about, I mean, different things, because this is not a system, let's say, error. This is human error, I mean. And these things happen, especially in a mission. And for this, I mean, to identify these containers was a big mess, I mean, let's say.
Piero, Joe here. Sorry to interrupt you, right? So because we're spending an awful lot of time on this issue.
Yeah.
The simple fact is, it's not just for containers, but for a lot of equipment. Okay, so we should make the manufacturer's serial number mandatory to be filled in.
Yes, I agree. It should be. I mean, it should be a kind of mandatory field. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and we have to find out where we can get that done. Thank you.
Joe, may I just... Sorry. Can I ask a question that I saw on the chat that was asked by Joseph, that I also am curious about? I was also going to ask this question. The serial number, and then there is a last serial number. That last serial number under the SER data, is that something which the system automatically allocates, or what is that?
Okay, sorry, this is Claudio. There are actually, we are discussing here two different issues. One is what is business, okay? And for the business, certain information such serial numbers, make, models should be mandatory, okay? When it comes to the system, when it comes to ECC and equipment record, all these fields are not mandatory. Basically, you can put whatever you want, or you can leave them empty, and you don't get any error from the system. Okay, so this is the main point. For example, when you're issuing something, you're issuing an equipment from the stock, from the inventory. The inventory is supposed to remove, for example, storage location, and same thing when you return them back to stock. You have to do the enrichment of the equipment record. If you don't do it, the system allowed you to return in stock. So at the end, the bottom line is the business. Okay, on the business side, it is mandatory that when we received, we're supposed to do enrichment. We're supposed to add whatever information are required. But if you don't do it, the system doesn't tell you anything. And to do a change and make this mandatory in the system, it costs millions of dollars. Correct me if I'm wrong. Just to do a simple change of a single field, it costs $40,000-$50,000. So it's a matter of costing. Okay. Right, Brian?
Correct, yes. So basically, in other words, if no one updates the equipment, the system will not flag any error. So
correct.
It's a matter of due diligence to update the equipment, but if you don't update the equipment after goods received, never throughout the life cycle, the system will never flag that there is an error or it's pending to be updated. So it's a question of due diligence to be aware that every time that the equipment goes through different statuses, we have to, it should be updated.
Okay, sorry. Just one sec, please. Okay. Mini-juice was the first liquidation we done in Umoja. And from lessons learned from that, we should alert the people in headquarters what needs to be done to ensure that Unimid is liquidated in the proper way. Okay. So there's a lot of errors that we've noticed in mini-juice, as you know, and a lot of things have been said just now about not being mandatory and nothing being flagged. I'm sorry, cost is one thing, getting the job done is something else. Okay, so if they want the job done right, they will have to listen to the lessons learned from liquidations and fix the issues. And by the way, that's not the only issue. We have other issues that we'll talk about during the week that really causes massive problems in the liquidation of mini-juice that we're still trying to fix today, all because certain aspects of the system is not mandatory. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Joe, but just keep in mind that all these issues, for example, missing of data, wrong statuses, etc., those already have been catched up by New York. And basically, there are instructions which say that on a monthly basis, each mission should look after their own records and do a kind of cleansing of data or enrichment of data. For example, in Brindisi, what we do is we do analysis on our stock holdings, on the inventory, to find out if there are records which, for example, are missing data such, let's say, the storage location, authorization groups, fund center. Remember that there are records for which, for example, fund and fund center are missing. So there are basic information which should be there, which are basically are not there because of human error, because they forgot to do it. So there is a mechanism in place for which each mission can do analysis on their stock holdings and do the enrichment on data wherever the data is missing. I'll give you another example. Make a model. If you look at make a model, for example, and you look, for example, for Hewlett-Packard, okay, and you want to know which kind of records Hewlett-Packard do you have in the mission, you found 10, 20 different ways of typing Hewlett-Packard in the system. So meaning that there is not even a standardization of the make and models. You can find models in the making the models, etc., etc. So it's a matter of instructing and putting in place, let's say, the analysis and controlling system.
Claudio, sorry, this is Gianluca. Joe, I think you allow me to say this. Okay, we are talking about two different things here. What you're saying is accuracy of data, which is not, in some cases, vital information. What we are talking about here when it comes to barcode or serial numbers or chassis numbers, these are vital information for assets to be identified. And if the organization has to pay some
$1,000 or whatever, if you consider the risk of losing or losing control of assets, if you may consider vehicles or containers or generators, then that's a payback. Okay, so these are.
Look, I agree with you. What I'm saying is those fields are not mandatory.
I know, but as Joe said, we have to, and I hope we can close here because we are wasting so much time on this. We have to draw a line, address to whomever should be addressed, and
you're already aware.
Claudio, let me finish, please. Claudio, let me finish, please.
Do you think Kirill is not aware that the serial number?
Claudio, can I finish, please? So let's draw a line. Somebody, Joe, with the people in Valencia, with the colleagues in Valencia, will probably find a way how to address this important information, because this is the end result of several, or particularly Minujust liquidation and problems that we had in Umoja to identify assets. I mean, to physically identify assets. So I hope we don't waste more time on this issue, because it's clear that is very important for our operations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Just to intervene there, because exactly, we're talking about things that we can't solve right now. I love the fact that we're sharing all this insight, and you guys are right on a lot of the topics you're discussing. I'm taking note of this. We will make reference to this as well. And of course, we can always have a wish list of things we'd like Umoja to have. But I think we should move on with the exercise and the demo, especially for those who are just learning. Maybe we can stress that topic that I think we need to focus on is what happens when you see two serial numbers in a piece of equipment, right? Because it's true that you have one that says serial number and then it says last serial number. I remember during ramp up, we would have those issues with some pieces of equipment, because either they would maintain their Galileo technical ID number as a serial number too, so they would be two different numbers. But then there were some other cases where it would say last serial number, and it's because people weren't, either they were adding it manually when they were receiving it, or they weren't receiving it and selecting, serialize automatically. So this causes issues. But basically, I think if we can tackle that, or maybe leave that one for later, we can discuss it amongst ourselves and discuss why this happens. But I think, Elena, you should just move on with the exercise and at least be able to complete one of the demos in the morning session.
Yes, actually, the first demo was already completed. I finished with the enrichment. So if you agree, we can move to the equipment. Well, first of all, to this short questionnaire to see if the concepts have been understood, and to not to get too bored by listening to me. And then we move to equipment enrichment. So this is a short questionnaire. And it's not, of course, part of any test. It's just to make the session a little bit more interactive and entertaining.
All right, thanks, Elena. So everyone, if you look at the chat, Elena has shared the link there. Just click on it and take the questions that she's posing to see if you've understood what she was explaining in the first demo. And then once, we'll take 5-10 minutes to answer those questions, and Elena will move on to her next demo. And for the discussions we were having in the background there, I'm taking note of these, and maybe we can recuperate them separately, and then maybe in the afternoon session we can address them again with, a more concrete set of answers.
So the form is still loading. Okay, just be a little bit patient with me, because it's also the first time I'm using the form. I see nobody has answered yet.
Elena, if you agree, in the meantime, while it loads, if you want to start preparing the other demo in the background. And yeah, I think Nico has just added a comment in the chat. If you guys close it and open it again, it seems to be working better.
Okay, I'm happy to see that it works. Okay, while you are completing this questionnaire, that is of course not mandatory, let me introduce what we are going to do. It's about, we're going to do a demo on how to assign a piece of equipment, that actually two pieces of equipment that are in the inventory, and we are going to assign it to two staff members that are also in and to a functional location. So the material that we are going to assign is two pieces of computers with two different serial numbers. And what the steps that we're going to do in this case is, first of all, we will use a notification in order to track all the tasks that are involved in assigning equipment to staff members. So the first step will be to create a notification and to approve the notification. Then we will review what are the tasks involved into the process of assignment an equipment to a staff member. Then we will do some inventory transactions. For example, we will check what is the stock in order to see if it's possible to assign the requested materials, and we will check that there is enough stock. So we will proceed to creating a reservation for these two pieces of computers. And then we will update the reservation number into the notification, so that the purpose of the notification is a single source of information of what we are, of all the tasks that are being, and documents that are done in order to complete the assignment. So we will update the notification with the reservation number, and then we will perform goods issue from the inventory. Once the material number of the goods issued is done, we will perform a transfer order for picking. So we will move the materials from the inventory, from the warehouse, in order to assign them to the staff members. And lastly, we will update the equipment record to reflect that the computers are assigned to a business partner, a staff member, and then we will complete the notification. So basically, these are the steps in order to assign equipment to staff members. As you see, there is some steps that belongs to equipment, update and notification. There are other steps that are more related to inventory, and then there are other steps that are related to the warehouse. So these are the big three areas that we will be touching during the equipment assignment. You have the summary of the steps in the cover page of your exercises. Also, here you will be writing the materials or the documents that you are creating. Basically, in Umoja, you will be creating 4 documents: the notification, the reservation of the computers in the inventory, the material document that refers to the goods issue, and the transfer order for picking. The roles that are involved is the notification user and approver, the local master data maintainer, and then the inventory senior user, and then the warehouse senior user and users. Okay. So if it's okay, and if there are no more comments in the chat, we can proceed with the demo.
Okay, Elena, there's nothing in the chat. I'm checking it too. Now, I did realize also with the discussion we were having before, we're past the hour and 20 minutes. We haven't offered a break. I don't know if somebody wants to take, or some of you want to take 5-minute quick break. You know, if you want to grab a glass of water or coffee or something, now would be the perfect time to do so. Okay, so maybe we can come back at 11:26. Okay, let's take maybe 4 or 5 minutes, take a quick break and come back.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Elena. So whenever you want, I think 4 or 5 minutes have been up. I just don't want to consume more of our time. And nonetheless, if we just want to make sure if we can finish this second demo, at least, even if it takes a little more than the half an hour that we have, I think it's better if we do. So at least if in the afternoon, we only have to cover one session instead of 1.5. I don't think students will mind if we just extend a little bit more.
Okay, no problem. Just I was reviewing the responses of the questionnaire. So they are quite homogenic and they are quite correct. So yes, I don't want to spend longer, but I don't see too many issues. Basically, almost all are correct. Well, we have tested these forms, but let's move into the exercise. Basically, okay, what we want to do, the first step is to log in as notification user. Before beginning, let me remind you that there is a job aid on the equipment assignment. I find it quite useful because it explains, it's 33 pages, but especially what I like the most is that at the end of the job aid, you have appendixes. And in the appendixes, you see the reference, the notification to be used as reference in order to create your own notification. So if you use this notification reference, then you will have defaulted tasks that will guide you on the process of assigning an equipment. Of course, this task can be added or removed to suit the, in this case, the liquidation steps that you will do, but I think it's quite useful to get familiar to the job aid and to use this notification number as a reference. In production, we are going to use another one in the training environment. And as for the rest, it's quite detailed with a lot of screenshots, and it's handy to have it in hand. It is mentioned in the exercise that you will receive. I'm going to start the exercise as login as notification user, as the equipment assignment begins with creating a notification. So I will log off here and log in. So the first step is to create a notification. I'm typing the T code IW51. Basically, we are always using two types of notification, P1 and PW, for write-off and disposal. In this case, we are using P1 notification type. And here is where you will input the reference for the notification that is stated in the appendix in the job aid. In this case, we are going to use another one for the training environment, but bear in mind that you will have a reference to use in the job aid. So this is the notification that we are going to use as a reference. And why using our notification as a reference? Because if you go here, you see that there are some tasks that are already pre-populated. So it's like using a template for equipment assignment. The first thing that you are going to do, this is the template. So you are going to rename the notification, let's say description, assign 2 new computers to 2 staff members, for example. And then you are going to start completing the fields in the notification, okay? So the first thing that you are going to do is to insert the coding of the notification. It's about assignment, equipment assignment. And then what you are going to do is to add a description of the notification. And then you have a text box where you can add, for example, requestor 1 business partner is, and then you will go to your cover page, and you will copy the name. And then you will copy the business partner of the requestor. And then request or so business partner number is this one, and the name is Aquila. Once you have inserted a short description, then you will mark the priority of this notification, let's say medium, and then the required start day, let's say today, and the planner group that is going to be in charge of managing this notification, in this case, ICT, for example. Okay. These are the ones that will manage the notification. Then the next thing is to keep on populating the notification. We click no. And we are going to add the plant US00. This is for the training environment, of course. Company code, it's always 1000 in all the transactions that we are going to see in the system, business area as well, and the responsible cost center, 1002. Then we will move to sending an email to the notification approver, which is usually the certifying officer, for example, and then we will say a text, for example, please approve notification for requestor BP number and then. The business partner of the second requestor is this one, and then the name is Aquila. Basically, I'm sending an email to the certifying officer so he can approve this equipment assignment. Okay, I will move to here. I will select who is the recipient. In this case, is the SAP logon name. I'm going to see what is the user ID of the approver. Okay, in this case, this is his user ID, and I'm putting here. I will click on this icon, and then I'm moving to the tasks. As I said, using the reference populates a number of tasks that the notification user can add or remove. Also, the local master, what's the name? Yes, the local master data maintainer. We can add, and let's say that we are okay with the set of tasks that have been pre-populated. What we need to do, we're going to assign already responsible persons, at least for the first tasks. So the first task is create notification. We know who is going to create the notification, which is the notification user, is ourselves. So we are going to assign the task to ourselves. And what we need is the index number. So we are adding our index number. And approve notification. So is my supervisor, is the certifying officer, for example, and I'm adding his BP number, and then the process notification. Let's follow the exercise. Is the local master data maintainer, and this is his or her index number. And I'm also going to add the planned starting dates. For example, today is 22nd, so tomorrow I'm planning, well, the notification creation is today, and I finished today. And then I'm expecting him to approve today or tomorrow. Wait. And then to manage the notification and tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is to the next step, I'm going to select all the tabs. Plan task is before. Okay, so I cannot put today. I have to put tomorrow. Sorry, guys. Okay. Let's see. I'm selecting all the tasks and I'm going to deselect one. And I'm going to release them. Okay, so the status of all of them have changed to released.
Elena, could you just briefly explain while you were typing away what you did and why you did it, and now what does it mean that you released these tasks?
Okay, I am the notification user, so I am creating the notification. I used as a template in order to facilitate the tasks, and the template is providing me a list of pre-populated tasks to be done in order to assign the computers in this case. I'm not adding or removing any task. I'm agreeing with them. So what I'm doing is to, for at least for the 3 of them that I know who are the persons that are going to process, I'm assigning the task to the responsible person. I will be doing the same as I am aware of the identity of the rest of the staff members that are going to do that. I can also do it now, but let's say that in a real case, I update only a couple of tasks. I know who I am creating the notification, and I know who will approve the notification. Then I'm selecting all of them and I'm releasing the task, meaning that the tasks are created and I release. Let's say I'm validating the tasks.
All right, so exactly, right? You're validating that these tasks can now occur, right? In a sense, you're not like approving anything. You're just saying, yes, I validated these tasks and these should be the tasks that should be performed, right? Step by step.
For example, what I'm going to do now is to mark that I have created already the first task. The first task is create notification, so it's not released. but I'm going to click here in this flag, which is white and black, and I'm going to mark it as completed. So anyone that enters into the notification and wants to follow up what is the status of the process of assignment at a computer will see that, okay, the notification is created and the rest of the task is still pending. As long as the process advances and the tasks are completed, we will move the status from released to completed. So at the end, when the computers have been assigned to the persons, all the tasks will be completed and I can complete the notification as a whole. Basically, the notification is a repository to track all the tasks and the material numbers and the document numbers and the serial number that we are going to manage.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Elena, for explaining that, right? Because Claudio is also writing in the chat saying, are these steps necessary, right? Do we really need to create a notification? And I know that the system itself is not going to tell you, hey, you're forgetting the notification, right? For the majority of transactions, but it is a requirement in the sense like Elena is just explaining right now, right? It's going to help us track what is happening with a piece of equipment. For example, if you're enriching it, if there's a handover, if there's an assignment, when we write a piece of equipment off, maybe when we're adding to stock, returning to stock, we always need a notification attached to these transactions because not only does it organize the steps to follow, right, for everyone, but it also keeps track of what is happening at each point during the transaction. Also, for reporting purposes, and we'll see that in BI when we start pulling reports in BI, the notification number is key to be able to link transactions together and understand what is really happening with a piece of equipment. When this is not done properly, it starts to create a mess of things and we don't really know what's going on with it. And also, in terms of legality too, when a liquidation of omission, right? If we're being audited, for example, these notifications are key to be able to prove, that steps have been followed, proper transactions have been followed, approvers have seen the transactions, and we're not just doing, whatever we want without any sort of order. Okay, I hope that just clarifies a bit more.
It is helpful as you have seen, there are tasks to be performed by different, let's say, technical units. So it keeps a good track of who has to do what. We have seen that in this case, there are some transactions to be done in inventory, others in the warehouse, for example, in the case of write-off. It's a very lengthy process and it involves many units. So it's good, for example, if there is a task that says deactivate a fixed asset. Well, this is done by the finance colleagues. If having this task, this notification with the pre-populated task allows you not to miss any step. So you can all remove steps, but at least it is proposing you a set of steps and then you can follow them in order to complete the end-to-end process. For example, deactivating an equipment or retirement of fixed asset, and then contacting the guys in the warehouse to do a transfer order, inventory, etc. It's processes that usually involve many technical units. So it's a repository of all the tasks and also the materials. You will write down the equipment serial number that you are assigning, etc., etc. This is basically the use of the notification. Again, if you don't use notification, the system is not going to flag any error. So that's the danger. The danger is not to use it, a tool that Umoja is providing you.
And Elena, one more thing. Joseph Kenny is also asking or really making a comment in the chat about why add the dates for other staff members who have tasks, right? Surely they can put the date that they have completed the task themselves. Now, again, I believe that this is because the role assignment, right? The notification user is assigned to a specific person that will have to input these dates and not just anyone can go in and update this, correct?
Exactly. In this case, is the local master data maintainer who will be managing the notification and the notification users. So not everybody can input the dates, but they have to communicate so the notification can be updated.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Elena. And no other questions so far except for the requirement of a notification. No, why is it required? Is it necessary? Can it be avoided? And the same thing with why do we have to enter the dates, right, of tasks performed by staff members? Why can't they do it themselves? Beyond that, there's nothing more in the chat.
Okay, so the next step is to approve the request for assigning the computer to staff members. So it will be the notification approver, who usually is a certifying officer, for example, who approves that, or heads of unit. And then let's see, this is a report in order to see pending notifications. And it's, okay, this is not my notification. Today is 22nd. Let's see if the system is picking. Okay, yesterday the system was not picking mine either. We are going to complete this field because I know what is my notification number. Is 1701. And here it is. So basically, supervisor will receive the notification and will approve it. So in order to approve, this is the system status of the notification. There are outstanding tasks that are not marked as completed. So the request is approved. Click back button and save. So this is it. Basically, the next step is to process the notification. It is done by the master data maintainer local. I'm going to log in as the master data maintainer. Who is basically the person that is going to contact the others, follow up on the notification, and update the notification with extra data. It will check the notification by the T code IW52. And we'll type the notification, and basically is going to review the data. So it's a notification approved about assigning 2 new computers to 2 staff members. Now at this stage, if the product ID is already known, they can insert the product ID. If it's not already known, they can check in the inventory what are the laptops available to assign. Let me, okay. This is my notification, yes. Basically, what they have to do, okay guys, sorry, because I'm speaking almost by heart. They will change the status to assign, and then what they want to do is to save. What the next step, as I said, we can go and check if there is a stock for computers. So I'm going to open another session and to run a check of the stock. It was set LD underscore stock and then RDW. So I am requesting laptops. I will, for example, let's say I'm going to search either by a number of laptops to see what is available. In this case, I know what is the product ID that I want to assign. I'm going to check the cover page, and let's say that is this piece of computer, this product ID. Let me check that we have in stock the plant, the storage location, and for today is 22nd. What I'm doing now is to confirm that I have 2 laptops to assign to the staff members and to continue with the notification. So we have actually 219. What I'm going to do is to reserve 2 of them. In order to reserve 2 of them, I will type the T code ZMMB21. These are inventory management transactions. What I'm going to do is, movement type. In this case, let's say that we are going to assign 2 laptops that we have in our inventory. So this transaction will be statistical. There's another option that is that we are requesting the 2 laptops from another technical unit, and we will do, let's say, a real posting because they don't belong to us. I understood that in the notification scenario, in the liquidation, you don't usually do this type of assignments. So people are assigned material that belong to their own, let's say, technical unit or storage location. In this case, you will have to select movement type, consumption for cost center, for own cost center, let's say, and it's a statistical posting. You will click on enter, and then you will have to complete the fields that are marked with this check mark, which is the fund, your own cost center as it is statistical, and then your unit in this case is, let's say, engineering. You are going to fill in as well the material ID that you are subject to the reservation is the computers, and you are reserving 2 computers. You are marking the 2 computers are new supplies. And this is the notification, the reservation, sorry. Oh, I need to fill in the storage location. And in this moment, I'm reserving 2 laptops that are in the inventory of my own cost center, let's say. You have to take note of the reservation number. It's 605794. So what I did is to create a notification. The supervisor has agreed that the laptops are to be issued to 2 staff members. I check in the inventory to see if my technical unit, my storage location, has these 2 laptops. I check that there were actually 219 laptops in the inventory of my, let's say, cost center or unit. And then I made a reservation of these 2 laptops. What I want to do now is to update the notification in order to say that, yes, these 2 laptops have been booked for us. So what I will do, well, first, the reservation needs to be approved, sorry. And in order to do that, I need to log in as inventory senior user.
Thanks, Elena, for that explanation. I was about to jump in and say if you could review that. So I think when you explain it like that, right, it starts making more sense as to why we do this, because it's easy to lose track with all these steps and all these transactions as to what we're doing and why we're doing it. So Elena, again, has repeated that first we started with the notification. Why? Because it's a good way to track the actions that we have to follow. It's a good way to track the transactions that we've performed in the system. And like this, there's a repository where we say, okay, this process has been done, check, release, complete, right? And also in the text box of the notification, as you guys have seen, Elena is also writing, the actions that have been performed, the material documents, if any, reservation numbers, if any, and so on, right? So it's a good way to keep the tracking of the transactions that are being done. Now she's doing a reservation in inventory, okay? And this is something that today we're just starting to tap into, and you'll see how as we go through transactions during the week, this becomes more normal, okay? So every time we start, once something is in inventory, right? Not when we're first receiving it, but when something is already in inventory and we're issuing it out, or has been in inventory, we have issued it out and then we're returning it, we need to reserve the space in the inventory for it to come in, as well as reserve that piece of inventory for it to come out before. And why we do that? We do that so that there's also a keeping of track, besides other things, of things that are coming in and out. And we know like this, if actually, can we use this piece of equipment? Is this piece of equipment meant for something else? That's why there's an approval process for the reservation too. The inventory senior user will have to review that request for reservation of material and confirm, yes, you can take this piece of material, or no, because it's needed for something else, right? So these processes all make sense as we go through them, okay? We're not just going through transactions, but trying to explain why we're doing these. They may seem tedious, but they're necessary.
And basically what the notification is compiling all the tasks that need to be performed by a lot of different persons in the mission. So no entries is found for my notification. This is a report for the inventory senior user to see what are the pending notifications, the reservations, sorry, to be approved. And sorry. What they do is to enter the material in their plant, so they expect to see all the reservations that need the approval of the inventory senior user. Basically, is the owner of in this case, of these computers, and if he or she agrees the reservation to be done for the assignment. So they will see this report, all the pending reservation. Ours is this last one, is for engineering unit. The required date is today, and it's a goods issue for cost center. He or she will review all the information, and if agree, what they need to do, and this is a little bit tricky, is to open another session, click on the inbox button, click on the inbox as well, material reservation, double click, and approve the reservation. Basically, what I have done is I created the request for the assignment of 2 laptops. The request was approved by my supervisor. Then it was moved, just one sec. Then it was moved, just one sec, please.
Okay, so I'll jump in here for a quick second. So as we saw, we're using the T-code MB25 to see the list of reservations to either be approved or that have been approved, right? So just like we did, remember yesterday with the warehouse senior user and warehouse user, one of them checked if there were requirements of goods incoming to warehouse, and then one of them checked if there was an order, right, to do something. So in this case, the inventory senior user is checking, right, to see if there's an order or something to do in terms of reservation. So if Elena goes, she just approved it in her inbox as the inventory senior user, but if Elena goes back to the other T-code MB25 that was there before, I think in the other screen you have it open, Elena. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, you created another session. We see here a list. Just click on execute and we can see those. We see a list of reservations that have occurred, but actually some of these are already approved and some are not. So Elena, can you go to that screen that we were looking at? Now we see Teams. Okay, so when we get back to that screen, what you see on the screen is the list of reservations. There you go. And we see there's 3 columns that I think we need to make mention to, right? The M, D, and F column here. Just so we understand if what we're looking at here. It's not like we have to approve all of these, right? Some of these have already been approved. You see the one that Elena has just expanded, movement allowed, that has an X. That means these have already been approved to move, right? To move from inventory. And those that don't have an X in movement allowed are not approved yet. Okay, so we can see all of them as the inventory senior user, or we can filter before we perform the search to only see the ones that have not been completed or have not been approved. right, before we execute this. So this is a very good T-code for inventory senior users to see what tasks are pending, okay, if reservations have been made but not yet approved.
Another way is if you know the reservation number directly, you can type another T-code, which is B22, and to check exactly the same information. You want to see if the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 7, 9, 4. What is the status? This is the same M, movement allowed. So you can double check that the reservation for this material, 2 units to this cost center, goods issue for cost center, is approved. Okay, I did approve. So I guess that now it's time to update the notification with the actions that the SD11 staff member has done. In order to do that, I need to log out as inventory senior user. I will log in as the local master data maintainer, who is the person in charge of updating and managing the notification. I will log in as this person, and I will update the notification with the latest actions that have been occurred. This, no, one sec. Yes, this is the user ID. This is the password. The notification is IW52, and then my number is 101701. This is the text as it was, but I want to update with extra info. And then, okay, I want to add that the material ID, the material number is what I have saved for them is this type of computer. And also I created a reservation, and the number is 5794. What I'm going to do is to update the tasks. Okay, so create notification is completed. Approve notification, I mark it as completed by clicking on this black and white flag. Process notification, it's in process, let's say, and it's this person, Anthony. The next step, according to this template, is create reservation. It's done, so I can mark it as completed. Update, another task is, okay, I cannot. Update notification with the equipment. I just did it now, so I'm going to mark it as completed. And according to the template, the next step is to print the notification for user signature and user acknowledgement. I'm not going to do this as of now, but what I'm going to do is to perform goods issue. It's not listed in this template, so what I will have to do is to add a task in order to mark that we're going to issue from the inventory. Let me open another session, and I'm going to log in. No, I need to log off. Sorry, I wanted to go too fast. It's not possible.
Okay, well, as Elena logs in, just to jump in here, I know that it's already almost 10 minutes past 12. I know that we have a very reduced amount of time for lunch. And now, just a quick question. Maybe we can, if the goods issue won't take too long, which I don't think now that the reservation is done, we'll finish the Migo transaction, get our material document, and we'll call it a day for the morning session, okay? And then in the afternoon, maybe we can jump in, do a quick review, and finalize the transaction, if you guys are all okay with that, okay? And also something Elena was just showing before, the templates have a base templates, and notifications have a template that you can use, which have a list of tasks, but of course that doesn't mean they're written in stone. You can delete some of the tasks and you can add some new ones as well. Okay, it's not a document that is just like that and you can't tamper with it. You can always edit, update, add, remove things. Okay, so now Elena, I'll let you do the goods issue transaction, and I think after that we'll share the evaluation. You guys please complete it, and we'll go for lunch and come back at 2. Thanks, Elena.
Okay, what the inventory senior user is doing is to perform goods issue against the reservation. It's going to issue the goods that are under the reservation. By selecting these 2 options in these drop-down menus, the goods issue is pulling the information that is in the reservation. So he will have to review what is the information and approve the goods issue if this is the case. So basically they will check what is the material, item okay, we have to check, okay, we have to assign the serial numbers that are going to be issued. Again, you in your exercises, you will have to go to the serial numbers of the 2 desktops. So you will first insert the first serial number and then insert the second serial number that are going to be issued out from the inventory. We'll check if the issue, okay, I didn't copy it well. Check and post. So this is the material document for the goods issue. I'm not going to print it, but I'm going to take note of the material document. And for you, as we are going to break, the next step will be to issue the laptops actually physically from the warehouse they are. As the goods issue has been done in the side of the inventory, let's say that it is approved that these 2 materials are going to be issued out from the inventory that we have. The same thing has to happen physically with the laptops. The laptops that are standing in a bin location into a storage type, they will have to removed and given in hand to the staff members. And this is what the next steps that we're going to see after lunch, and also to assign each one of the equipment numbers to the staff member, as we saw earlier in the morning, and then to close the notifications. These are the steps that are pending. In this way, we will be running through all the tasks that are listed in the notification until we can complete the notification as a whole, and we will not have forgotten anything, any step. Let me check if there is any comment or question in the chat, and if not, I think we can.
Yeah, I've been taking a look at it and answered the last question with the tasks, right, and the mandatory aspect of these tasks, right? So I just answered the question. Thanks, Anna, for your answer too. Again, we come down to the same thing. So after the transaction that Elena has just done, you see at the bottom left part of her screen, she has now a material document. I would take that material document and post it in the notification as proof that this has been performed. Because if I just release everything in complete notification and then I say, oh, I'll worry about doing that later, most probably you're never going to do it later, right? Because you're going to be busy with other things. When somebody takes a look at the notification, they'll say, oh, all the job is done. Good, but it's not, right? Goods issue has not been performed, and that should be tracked there. We can even add it in the description box at the bottom, the text box that we have there, and add that notification number, the material document number there. So there's proof of that. You'll see when we do it with return to stock in addition to stock 2, how you can go back and forth and add TR number, TO number, material document, and everything is there, and there's proof of that. Okay, that's why it's so important. I think, yeah, we can share the Yeah, let's share the evaluation, the survey, and go for lunch. So I'm going to just make sure I add it to the chat here. Thanks, Daniel, for forwarding it. And we are, here you go. I think everybody should be able to see it and access it. If not directly, copy and paste it. And hopefully this one opens easily and quickly, and it doesn't give you the loading issues the one did before. Okay, mine opened right away. Hopefully yours does too.
With regards that I'm seeing about the notification, remember that we are doing all the steps in the same morning, but in real life, you are using the notifications for processes that occur during many months or some weeks. In case of write-off and disposal, it can take a number of months. So it's good, instead of keeping track in emails or in a paper or in an Excel, you use the notification. So you remember exactly what was the last step. Here, it's a little bit different because I'm explaining all the steps and it seems that I am doing everything in the same morning, but this is not the case. In real life, it will be different people doing the steps at different stages in time. So that's the purpose of the notification.
Very good. Thank you, Elena. That is very true, and that is something that we need to say as well. Even though the steps seem to be performed in an hour, of course, it's going to take more than that. And that's why it's important to track again, okay? Because if it takes place during 2 months, 3 months of time, imagine how many things we can forget to do in the meantime. So thanks, Elena. All right, so the evaluation is shared. Please take time to fill it in. We'll go for lunch, and we'll meet again at 2.
Okay, bye.
Hi, Elena, you're still there?
Yes.
Okay, just stop the recording.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do it myself, but I don't know how much it's going to intervene with what you're doing.
Stop.